Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Can we have a disclaimer first?
Is it? What's a disclaimer?
I want the disclaimer right now.
Oh, no.
Okay. This movie needs multiple watchings before I talk about it.
I feel the same way.
Okay.
That's why I asked you when you first walked in my door if you had seen this before, and you said no.
No.
Because I have so many more questions.
Right. I don't know if I have questions, but I just want to make sure there's going to be things I'm going to say, kind of like I think it was No Country for Old Men when I said something that was completely obvious that I missed.
You're just afraid that I'm going to ask you if you watched the movie or not?
No, I watched it. I just want to make sure that when I do say something stupid, like something I didn't catch.
Okay, disclaimer, I'm going to say stupid stuff too. So,
yeah.
all right, yeah.
Amazing, but I was just like, whoa.
So we watched Christopher Nolan's 2006 The Prestige, his film that followed Batman Begins and came out immediately before The Dark Knight. Starring Batman, Wolverine, Alfred, Black Widow,
Yep. And David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Heck of a cast, heck of a flick. I think.
Oh, wait. And both Alfreds. We got Andy Serkis from The Batman, and we have Michael Caine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
one of the characters is named
Alfred. Word.
It's
Batman is Alfred in this flick.
A triumvirate of Alfred. Hey, George, how did you like the British accent from Christian Bale compared to his normal speaking voice?
It threw me off.
Yeah.
At first. And a couple of times throughout the movie, it annoyed me.
Because it was thick.
Do you think he did a good English accent, though?
But hold on. But then as I kept watching, it kind of just became normal in the course of the movie. Because it is a long movie, so, it just kind of normalized as I was watching it. Are you going to tell me that that's his real voice?
Yeah, he's Welsh, man. He's from Wales.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just wondered because I've never seen him except in interviews ever get a role where he gets to speak with a Welsh accent. And honestly, I don't know my accents well enough. Richard, phone a friend. Is he doing an English accent because he's in London, or is this his Welsh accent and he's not trying?
I don't know.
I want to know, Richard. Let me know.
We're gonna need an expert on this one.
I kind of like the Scarlett Johansson's accent too. It was subtle.
Yeah, she didn't overdo it.
It was subtle. It wasn't overdone. Yeah, I liked it.
She wasn't like doing a Michael Caine impression or anything.
Right.
It
was almost like Michael Caine's accent was just terrible. I could not just. Yeah, I was just like, come on, dude. Like,
where's his American accent?
Go back to acting school, man. You can't even do this accent right.
Oh my God.
Who's he fooling?
I legit would not mind if you want to break this episode into two parts. Like if you want to watch it again tomorrow and we do a second look, because I'm going to spoil, we'll spoil the heck out of the movie for the audience, but I'm going to spoil it for you guys. When you watch this movie the second time, they don't cheat. Not a single time. And in fact, they put their cards on the table somewhat obviously at the very beginning of this movie, and it's just up for you to pay attention. In fact, the very first thing that you hear when the movie starts is him saying, watch very closely or whatever from the act. Because they're going to give you everything you need to connect the story right there at the beginning. But it just takes the second watch before you can put it all together.
It's like Sixth Sense in a way. But it's a lot more obvious when you see the recap. You're just like, oh my God, I saw that and didn't think anything of it. I saw that and thought nothing of that either.
There's a scene in the courtroom at the very beginning where it's supposed to be a shot of the daughter waving. But the way they frame it, it is the daughter and Fallon completely centered in frame. And it's just like, I paused it to tell it because I watched with my kids. I paused it to explain something and I'm looking at it like, oh God, don't look at it. don't say what that is. Keep moving. The kids are going to see that's Christian Bale. And they didn't, because facial hair really, I guess, works to trick my kids.
I didn't see Jimmy Fallon in this.
Oh. But yeah, at one point when, I think it was when they introduced the double for, I kept calling him Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. When they introduced his double at the bar, who was played by Hugh Jackman, just the little bit of prosthetics they did and the mustache, my kids were like, oh, who's that guy? He kind of looks like the other guy. I'm like, it's the same actor,
God,
kids. And they're like,
guy.
are you sure? I don't think it is. I'm like,
They dressed them up.
My 6-year-olds weren't really on board with that, but they'll come around.
Wait until they're old enough to know who Colin Farrell is, and then they watch the Batman. Yeah, like that.
Now, I have to ask, as you guys are the first-time viewers, I need to know a few, before we get too far into the plot, I just need to know, as far as twists go, when did you figure out Fallon's identity? Was it with the final reveal, or had you caught it earlier?
Are you talking about Fallon as in Bale's brother?
The double, yeah, the twin.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go?
You can go.
I personally knew something was up the whole time with that guy.
Because of the way they frame him?
The way they were framing him, they kept kind of showing, even way before he like picked the little girl up during the argument and all this, like all this earlier stuff where he was just kind of hanging around.
Yeah, my kids pointed out that it was just like on The Simpsons, where every time Maggie is going to talk, they cut away and leave you hanging. And they were like, why is that guy Maggie the baby who never talks? And they didn't figure it out, but they were definitely on the scent.
And he looked like a guy in disguise, but I couldn't figure out. I didn't know who it was.
I didn't know who it was either, but
I knew he was something.
I knew he was obviously the double. Right? I just assumed that guy that's hanging around all the time looks like he's in disguise. He's obviously the double that's used for this trick. Right?
A couple of times I thought maybe that was Jackman in disguise keeping a close eye on Bale.
Right. But then again, they show you the trick so many times, and it's obviously Christian Bale. Like, so it's like, then they kind of keep you second guessing yourself, like, no, that can't be the double because it's actually him. Like, how is he doing that? It was good.
Yeah.
It was a good, it was mind fucking me. I did not have any idea what was going on, and I didn't suspect that it was his twin at all.
Right.
Until the end, it totally got me. 100%.
I didn't think twin at all. I thought maybe it was somebody who, because they found somebody who looked like, was it Angler? Angier, yeah. Angier. They found somebody that looked like Angier, so maybe
right.
Alfred
and the double
like
for Angier was so good that it made you think, okay, then the other trick could be also a double that just looks really good. Right? And if that's the case, then that weird dude that looks like he's in disguise all the time is definitely the double. But then you're like,
what's cool is they purposely made Angier's double a pain in the ass and uncontrollable, and to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, this is a liability to have a double.
Yeah, this trick isn't worth it.
And then they don't show you the other side, which is the loyal brother who's not going to be a pain in the ass because he's
in 100%.
100%.
Except that he is just as big a pain in the ass and even more harmful.
Because he's cheating and stuff?
Okay, so we need to do a deep dive into their relationship and some of the hints they throw in the movie. But before we get on that, I just have to know, George, you love a tragedy. When you realize, and maybe, I don't know if you've had time to flesh it all out, because I know you watched the movie, then we jump right in. When you come to realize that Hugh Jackman's character is making a conscious choice to relive his wife's death, or at least risk reliving his wife's death, hoping he becomes hoping he doesn't realize as his consciousness becomes the double and his private consciousness drowns the horrible death of his wife 100 times to spite the guy who caused it. And then for him to find out in his most untainted form, right? The final Jackman, never having drowned, to find out that, in fact, the thing he thought was a peaceful end is actually a miserable end. And to realize he's done that not only to himself nearly 100 times, but his poor wife also died a miserable death, and they just lied to him the whole time. As he dies a miserable death from a bullet wound, like surrounded by the corpses of himself. Holy moly, this movie is dark. Spoiler alert for this movie.
I mean, I loved it, but also I have questions, right? So
the Tesla machine is real. The Tesla machine is able to basically create
all right, hold on.
right?
It's way too early to get into our problems. We have problems, but
why do you have problems? This movie is perfect. Go on.
Well, I mean, you'll address them, I'm sure, but I need answers.
I don't have any
like I said, I
with
have so many questions. Okay, so I watched the movie. I 100% every single minute. I still don't know where Michael Caine's character fits in and what side he's on, or if he's on any side at all. Does he know what Hugh Jackman's trick entails?
Okay, let's talk about Michael Caine's character from the beginning, because he is kind of the glue that could have held this story together if anyone would have listened to him. Because he is always right. He is always giving the right advice. Everything he says in this movie either comes true or is true in the moment he says it. And that goes all the way back to the knot that he says to not tie. That goes to they're using a double. He's using a double. He's got a double the whole time. The thing with go watch the ancient Chinese guy doing his old man routine, and tell me how he does the fishbowl thing as this insight into your commitment to the craft. And of course, the showman, Hugh Jackman's character, being like, yeah, whatever. I mean, he's whatever. And then Christian Bale's guy being like, yeah, that's commitment. And, you can see it in his eyes, like he sees himself and his commitment to the character in the behavior of the guy as he walks all old man to the carriage, preserving the character. I mean, really preserving kayfabe, right? Like it's a lot of pro wrestling style, like protect the character, Undertaker stuff.
Yeah.
Which, for the wrestling fan in me, was just like, yeah, man, protect the business.
Okay. I get that, and I did see that when I was watching the movie, but how much does Michael Caine know about Hugh Jackman's trick?
According to what you see in the movie, he doesn't know anything. He knows he's not allowed to go look beneath the stage.
Okay.
To find the stored bodies.
Where he would see the trap waiting for Jackman at the bottom. So he's not aware of the trick.
Hold on. Wait a minute. You just blew my freaking mind. Hold on.
Yeah, this movie, there's going to be a few of these. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the point of his trick is to fall in the tank. Right?
Yes.
Why?
To trap
the fake Jackman.
Okay. The entire theme of this movie is the professional rivalry, which becomes personal, and the obsession. Right. I mean, the subtitle of the movie could be, hey, The Prestige, two guys treat each other terribly for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So the purpose of his trick, the way and what did they say in the movie? It's not the secret, it's how you use the secret in a trick, right?
Yeah.
If you tell me how you do the trick, then it's like, oh, hey, that's how you do the trick. But if you show me in a cool set piece how this trick works without showing me your secret, I'm blown away, right? Jackman puts that thing, the tank, he puts the water tank beneath the trap door every show for 100 shows.
Right.
With a real lock that cannot be escaped. After having escaped from it as part of the show for an alibi for himself, right? He has a reason to have this tank. It's for his own trick. He starts the show with it. In honor of his wife, he gets out. And then later he does the big, prestigious trick. And in the course of that teleportation trick, what do they call it? The transporting man or whatever? I should put that in my notes. But so he puts the tank beneath the trap door to catch his body and drown himself. And he does that 100 times, or however many times it takes for Christian Bale, who he knows is going to get curious and want to know how he does this trick. He knows from prior experience that he's going to infiltrate and go underneath and try to figure out how he's doing the trick.
So he's trying to frame him.
He's trying to frame him by committing suicide 100 times in the manner that his wife died.
Okay. But then that's basically the real Jackman going through, and then his clone is appearing somewhere else?
That's the crazy part.
Or is the clone appearing in the tank and the real Jackman's appearing?
No, because it's not a matter of real and clone. At least I wouldn't present it as that. I would say it is like current and future, right?
Okay,
like
so time traveled.
Well, no,
Jackman.
not time traveled, duplicated. But like, say that it happened to me right now. My body, as I am sitting here in this chair, eating Cheetos, talking about movies with you guys, I die a horrible death, essentially a suicide, in the hopes that I can catch and frame my arch nemesis.
Okay.
Meanwhile, a new copy of me, identical to me, appears elsewhere, not having gone through this yet, but completely the same.
With all your same memories and all your same thoughts and all your same motivations.
It's you.
It's me completely, except that me in this body talking to you will go through the torture of a horrifying death.
Right.
With the faith that my clone will do it again tomorrow.
Okay. That's where they lost me. That's where,
I mean, really, if you make it that far and don't get lost until then, that's not bad.
Yeah. I am a fan still, but I was lost in the story because I was not sure when the hats and the cats appeared in the woods. I was like, okay, it's almost like instead of the Fly, where it's transporting molecular structures from one place to another and reassembling, it is basically cloning, or it's space-time continuum.
It's 100% just a photocopier.
Okay, so it's not explaining that to me, so that's where I was lost. And then I was like, okay, he's falling into they got me on the fact that I did believe that Bale's character pushed that tank underneath the trapdoor to kill him, which I guess was the point, to frame him for the murder.
You're supposed to believe that until toward the very, very end.
So even at the end, I was confused because even when they show like all the tanks, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so he cloned himself, not cloned, but it's the only word I can think of.
Clone is a fine word. Duplicated.
Cloned himself, duplicated himself 100 times, never disposed of the body, so there's 100 dead bodies underneath the stage. And Michael Caine was never his friend. He was always working for the other team. Like, I was just like, I was a little lost. Again, I'm going to have to watch it a few times because to me, the movie was set up to make you think the Jackman character was the one you're supposed to root for. But he seems to be they're both shitty. But it seems like at the end they're trying to make Bale into the hero.
You're going to have to watch it again.
I don't know.
One of the things, let's talk about Bale's character for a little bit, because they managed never to cheat. And it makes me so happy when I watch this movie the second, third, fourth time. From the beginning, they're dropping hints that something is wrong with Christian Bale's connection with other people. And it goes, from his discussion at the funeral. You remember Jackman corners him and says, "Did you tie the wrong knot?"
Yeah.
Like you talked about. And he says, "I ask myself that often. I don't know." Right?
So, right.
Because he's talking to, just for
the brother.
Yeah. For simplicity's sake, how about we call it good guy and bad guy Bale? Now, it's not really that clean, but just for our sake here, bad guy Bale ties the wrong knot, even though Michael Caine told him specifically not to. Good guy Bale at the funeral doesn't know for sure which knot was tied because he was Fallon that night. He wasn't. He wasn't Alfred. So as you track through the movie, the wife says, sometimes you say I love you and you mean it. Today you don't mean it. But that's fine because then later when you say it and you mean it, I know you mean it. And that's because she's talking to the bad twin that day.
Right.
And he's not actually bad necessarily. I mean, he's
just a different individual.
He's impetuous, right? Like, but the girl, the wife, Piper Parabo's character, like, is totally on board with trying the other knot. So she's just as culpable for her own death as he is, because they both think this knot's going to work. And
she had an identical twin, and the identical twin was the one who knew how to get out of that knot.
So,
and it was Bruce Willis.
And it was Bruce Willis's daughter.
That would have been amazing. So that's the thing, right? You've got this. You can track it through the whole thing, from the hand, getting the 2 fingers shot off, to then the explanation later that they both had, and then you have the explanation. Right? It's not. You have the discussion with the wife as she's cleaning the wound. She says, "Oh, it's like it just happened. It's still bleeding like it just happened," and that's because it had just happened. Because that was the other twin who got ice picked.
Now she wasn't in on it. She didn't.
She's
know there was
never in on it. If she knew there were 2, this is the tragic part, right?
Right.
They protected her from the business to the point that she was with both brothers, one of whom didn't love her and was only with her out of like obligation to the character that he was playing, to the point that she's driven to suicide because she doesn't understand that, yes, one of them still loves her, but the other one doesn't. And so, like, yes, he's the bad twin for mistreating her, but he's like, can you hate a guy for wanting love of his own? Like, I guess you can, but it just puts him in a horrible position where the character they're playing is married to the lady he doesn't love, and he does love, the turncoat Scarlett Johansson character.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, there's
so many problems with that, though.
She wasn't aware either, right?
We're not ready for problems yet, but like, this is just kind of like an aside thing. If there was 2 of me, actually, let's reverse that. If there were 2 of my wife, right?
Go on. I love when Dan says that.
And on different nights, I'm doing it with different individuals.
It's hot.
Don't you think I would recognize like a signature of one or the other?
Well, I don't know that there's ever.
And also, we have conversations that are like
during.
Not during. No. Like conversations, inside jokes, stuff like that. That like, wouldn't it be weird? Like you'd have to go back to she'd have to go back to her sister, right? The other one of her, and explain absolutely everything that happened that day, so that they could be on board page. with the lie, so that it would never be awkward. You know what I mean?
No, yes, and yes. And so here's the thing: I don't know that you want to assume. I don't know if this movie assumes that they were both having sexual relations with Sarah.
Okay, even if they weren't, the conversations, like I said.
Well,
like
but
the conversations,
that's the thing.
The jokes, just the things.
They reference that directly with the I've been asking asking myself the same question, right? They have to conference because everything they do in the act, they need to be open with each other so that they have continuity. So it's just, you can write that off if you are willing to as, yes, they're doing the work for these guys are living a double single life for their entire lives for the purpose of a magic trick. I think they can compare notes about, and actually you see evidence of it. Do you remember when the girl is like, hey, we're going to the zoo today? And he's like, are we? Is that what I said? Okay, I guess that's what we're doing. Like, he didn't know that, right? He missed that in the meeting, but he knew how to roll with it to the point that's like, okay, if that's what I said, then that's what we'll do. Also, I need to go talk to ScarJo real quick, and I'll be back after I'm satisfied.
You know what makes this funny? This reminds me of every freaking 80s movie where there's a body switcheroo, where it's like a curse or something, like Freaky Friday, where the mom switches with the kid or the dad switches with the kid or whatever, and they got to live each other's lives for a day until they can break the curse. That's what this movie is, but done brilliantly, and without the Disney bad acting and the this and that.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you,
it's the same thing.
My wife a few weeks ago was like, "Hey, the family's watching Freaky Friday tonight," and I was like, "Ugh." But I watched it for the first time, the Jamie Lee Curtis one.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
it's not bad.
I think George needs to see that movie if he hasn't already.
It's not bad. It's actually.
I have seen it, and also there's a Community episode about that movie that
sure
you should watch.
I'm sure there is, but yeah, the guitar playing. I wanted to hear George's opinion on what an excellent fake guitar player Jamie Lee Curtis is versus what a terrible fake guitar player Lindsay Lohan was. But we don't have to go there right now because we're talking about The Prestige.
You know, I don't think I don't recall.
Well, and you need it now that you've been through Jamie Lee Christmas. You need to go back and watch Jamie Lee because she rocks that movie.
Yeah.
There was a couple like kid mom type movies that she was in that were pretty good. I think what was the other one where the all the parents get put in the basement, the kids keep them hostage until they stop fighting.
Oh, I forget. I don't remember.
Kevin Pollak's in that. It's those kind of movies when done right, I can watch them. They're guilty pleasures, and I think Freaky Friday is one of them. I kind of like just one of the guys in a couple other movies like that a little bit better. But Freaky
I don't
Friday's
know
not
that
bad.
I would ever call those guilty pleasures, but maybe it's just because I don't have like guilt about liking movies. I don't know.
Well, there's just certain movies where you're like, oh, I love.
I mean, but I'm the guy that rambled
Dirty
off
Dancing.
like 5 John Holmes movies the other day, so maybe I shouldn't be the metric for this.
I love Kung Fu Panda too.
Yeah.
So
when I say guilty pleasure, it's usually movies that I'm not supposed to like, but I do.
Hey, while we're off topic, I just have to bring you guys up to speed. I think I figured out who the other film star they used in that pastiche character that is Dirk Diggler.
Who?
A guy named Jerry Butler.
Okay.
I don't know when you're going to have time to like look up a clip, but there's
Never.
a movie from the 80s called Raw Talent that includes actual like fight scenes with like the, Bruce Lee style, like hi-ya type. What do you call? Is that a screech or like a? I'm not gonna do it because I'll sound like an idiot. But that thing.
Like that.
There's that, and Ron Jeremy does like a front kick at one point, and I'm like, okay,
hedgehog. Ugh.
a hedgehog with a front kick. Hey guys. So anyway, I think that was the thing I was missing, right? Because John Holmes never
the
did
rabbit
karate.
holes that Dan goes down.
What a dumb thing to put John Holmes doing karate. He was more like a run around shoot guy. I mean, in multiple ways. And then Jerry Butler with his karate kicking karate stuff. And same time period as the first Dirk Diggler movie. It all comes, guys, mystery solved.
Do you have John Holmes on 4K?
I don't. Yes, actually, yeah.
How big is it looking 4K?
Dude, Dan is on another level.
I mean, I'll have to wait till I have the bigger screen, but...
Do we have to mop the floor in your new theater room?
Probably.
See Pee-wee in there going...
Yeah, make sure you put down tile in that in your theater, Dan. You don't want to have carpet.
Hey,
in
Francis.
So good. Anyway, but yeah, thanks to Vinegar Syndrome, Dracula Sucks is out on 4K. So thanks for providing me with an alibi.
Oh, my God. Dracula Sucks.
Hey, guys, there's an episode of Rick and Morty where someone in the school is killed by a vampire. And so Rick makes himself a teenager and goes to high school, and they hunt the vampire, which ends up being the gym coach or the gym teacher, Mr. Ferratu.
That's funny.
So
Ferratu.
there you go.
Was he bald?
They never actually show
They
him.
don't show him?
No.
Wow. That's good. See, those are the kind of references that you need.
Oh, but
you
then
need.
at the very end, there's like a post credit that is even better. But yeah, let's just keep going.
Mr. Ferratu.
I'll show it
That's
to you
pretty
guys.
funny. Did we lose Dan?
No, I'm still
No, he's
here.
still there.
Oh, you're there.
So,
He's just thinking about
He's
John
just
Holmes.
he's just like, what the hell is George talking about?
so the
I
Prestige.
was watching this episode of Rick and Morty where they showed John Holmes doing karate kicks.
Prestige, Christopher Nolan, that jail that feels like straight off the Batman Begins set for some reason, even though it's a different. The whole thing is different, but the whole thing feels the same.
Oh, that's where I saw that jail before.
But it's like a completely different set. But it just the camera angles and the movement and the blocking, it all just feels the same.
Yeah, I'm not saying
It
it's
felt
the
like
same.
Rises.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the same jail. But I'm saying that it had a familiar feel, and it's from Begins.
And there's a lot of the same kind of themes mixed in, this whole like dual identity, this is kind of a Batman movie, but without all the punches and kicks, Yeah,
it could have been almost like if they created a psychological villain, like a magician, like a Mysterio for Batman. I don't know. Is there a Mysterio in DC?
There's that lady that wears like a top hat.
Mystical or something like that.
It's like something with a Z. I should know.
Zatanna?
Zatanna. Yeah, so there's something they could have. But I'm glad this isn't a Batman movie because it gets you the opportunity to explore it in a different bent. But
right.
The idea that like the entire movie is this hatred rivalry that starts personal and becomes professional and personal, and then to parallel it with Tesla and Edison, just to like ground it in history a little bit and give you a time period without like beating you over the head with a specific date or anything. I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah. The other thing I was lost, I guess, because of all the time jumps and flashbacks.
There are a ton of time jumps. You will like this movie better every time you watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's harder because it's not that much difference in time periods, so people don't change enough for me to go, oh, well, that's 20 years ago, or that's
you've really got to break it down. Like your signposts are going to be: is this before she drowns? Is this after he drowns? Or is this in that horrifying period in between where they're back and forth sabotaging each other's lives and acts?
Right. Because I was like, man, he flew to Colorado Springs a bunch of times, or is that just the whole time he was there and he kept visiting Tesla?
Yeah, it's one big visit.
It's one big visit. Okay.
Oh my God. The idea that he's like reading this journal that he thinks he's stolen, and then it's like, oh, by the way, dummy, I know you're reading this. Good job spending all your money, And then for him to turn around and get Christian Bale in the jail, and you're like, oh, he got him. He got him back. See, he is the good guy, right? That's the kind of affirmation that, yes, I have been cheering for the right guy this whole time. And that's part of your turn, right? So you've got your pledge, your turn, your prestige. And it's only at the very end that you realize there's two different Christian Bales, one of whom is perfect and one of whom is not perfect. And the perfect one gets his daughter back and wins. After the thing where all of a sudden Hugh Jackman is stealing his daughter and rubbing it in his face. Like, the guy you were cheering for stole this man's daughter and is rubbing it in his face. Like, what a perfect like turn on the audience to be like, yeah, way to cheer for this guy, you crazy people.
Yeah, no, I was one of them. I wasn't sure who.
Well, you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to fall for it. You'd be like, yeah, I guess he's the better of the two. Oh God, he's the worst one.
So does that mean Michael Caine's character, was it Cutter, was basically the infiltrator the whole time?
Well, no, remember at the beginning, he is just their like mentor. He is the one who's helping them break into the industry as like, entry level magicians. He's the guy who designs tricks for the big magician who doesn't really have much of a presence. But he gets fired. Michael Caine gets fired because the girl drowns, and no one will hire him if he can't design safe tricks.
Gotcha.
And then by the time he could have worked with Christian Bale later, Bale is already doing his own thing with his own, I forget the technical term for it, but the trick designer is Fallon, right? So he's got his own trick designer, so it leaves Hugh Jackman to work with Michael Caine. But that doesn't mean that Caine's a bad guy. In fact, he's always good in this movie.
Gotcha.
He's like the pure goodness.
I think all of it's going to come together on a second viewing.
Yeah, so at the end when Caine is with Christian Bale's daughter and they're having a fun time, it's like it's okay because he was, like an innocent bystander the entire time.
Yeah.
He never had any hatred for Christian Bale, as a magician or a person, whatever. And it just so happened that he was working with Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman kept all of his dirty stuff that he was doing so close to the chest that Michael Caine didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how about the guy that has to sit there underneath the stage and watch Hugh Jackman drown every night.
Oh, he
He's
doesn't.
blind.
He doesn't because he's blind.
He's blind? Okay, I missed that.
All of his stagehands have the cataract eyes. So they look like Greek chorus members, kind of, if you're familiar with the old tropes from Greek theater. But yeah, nobody who works on that production with Hugh Jackman can see. And so he's hired people that can perform one function to move this thing onto the cart and get it to the dumping place. I think under the assumption that once he frames Bale, he'll have all the time in the world to then dispose of all his dead bodies of himself.
Right.
He just doesn't get the opportunity because he didn't foresee that the entire time Michael Caine saying, hey, he uses a double, right? I can't do a Michael Caine, guys, but he uses a double.
Try.
He does not ever suspect that the double will show up and shoot him and ruin his victory lap. How rude.
How rude.
The things we do for love, guys.
Okay, so that's cleared up a lot of my questions, because one of my other questions was, am I seriously supposed to think that Tesla made a cloning machine with electricity? And I am supposed to think
You're
that.
supposed to think
Yes,
that.
in the
Okay.
context of this movie, he is, I mean, what he's doing is essentially exploring actual, like, paranormal magic. True magic, right? The kind of stuff that does what the street magician, I keep saying musician, the thing that the, concert magician promises he's doing. Tesla figures out how to do it for real.
I was equating him to like a Chris Angel or a Michael Blaine. Is it Michael Blaine? David Blaine. David Blaine.
Michael Blaine's his cousin.
He's for some reason I was thinking Michael Bublé.
Lesser well known.
David Blaine and Chris Angel have the
I wonder if this
mystique that they are not human. They are doing some supernatural shit.
Yeah.
That they're on another realm.
Well, see, I would say that instead, because I think both those guys are full of shit.
No, but I'm saying they have that reputation. Like the stuff they're doing is almost looked at as, wait a minute.
Well, that is what Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman are doing, right? They're doing stuff that looks impossible and can't be explained because they both have hidden their doubles so well.
Yeah, but doubles don't let you put a car underneath your skin and let it drive around in your belly. Like that's what these two are doing. Not in real life, but I'm just saying, like they're doing stuff like swallowing thread and needles and then pulling. Like they're just doing things that are way beyond a trapdoor. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing it in front of people on the street. It's just a lot of sleight of hand.
I'm skeptical enough to know that those guys are all just faking it. Like this is more akin to someone splitting an atom and being like, oops,
right.
I just, what hath God wrought, guys? Kaboom.
Well, didn't he have that reputation, Tesla? Like he was a little bit more unethical compared to Edison.
No,
but then
no,
Edison
well,
kind
No.
of
No, this
I'm
movie...
saying in the public eye, like they tried to destroy each other through propaganda, and Edison won the war. Tesla basically lost out. He lost investment. He lost all the things based on basically politics. And
it was politics.
Yeah, like
100%.
They destroyed each other in the same way that these two magicians did.
Yes.
Only
And
Edison didn't get
Tesla-
destroyed and completely destroyed Tesla. Edison.
That's what I'm saying. Tesla was the losing battle.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm not a Tesla expert. I just know from the little bit of history that I've read that he was not the bad guy in that relationship.
Right.
But
he misunderstood.
I think the idea that they're trying to get across in the script, this version of Tesla, is if he's not destroyed by the Edison corporate, money-making machine, he might have been able to bring us newer, more cutting-edge, more unconventional science, and instead he gets trumped by, the kind of mainstream science.
Yeah. I always looked at Tony Stark was kind of based on Tesla. The character of Tony Stark.
For real?
I think when the writers of the comic book, they stole a lot of Bruce Wayne, but they based his technology and his scientific genius on Tesla.
I think I need to read more about Tesla as well.
I would be critical with your sources because I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot of exaggeration. But yeah, if you could do like a 4-book study,
there's like a
master's thesis on Tesla, that'd be cool.
I know that there's like a mysticism about Tesla, right? Yeah. And the story that I don't say like I believe it to be true or whatever, but like I kind of feel like this is probably close to accurate, is that all of his theories were about electricity and whatnot were impossible to regulate. Get what I'm saying?
No one can make money off of it.
Yeah, exactly. No one could make money off of it.
Can't be harnessed.
Right.
By those that make money.
And Edison's was much easier to regulate and
commoditize or whatever.
Exactly. And that's why the politics were on his side and whatnot. I suspect that that's probably the truth.
And back then what they did was they made you insane. They made you this. They made you that, so that you were in the public eye.
Well, they still do that. But yes.
But it was easier back then because there wasn't, you basically, your newspapers
were
more,
there were fewer sources and there was,
So they're like, exactly. Oh, we want to make him go away? Let's turn him into this.
Yeah, but could you imagine, like, I mean, I've only heard stories, but like, if you didn't need wires for electricity, like if you could just use like, I don't know, the magnetic field of the earth, it would be totally like unregulatable.
Yeah.
It would put certain people I know out of business, I think.
They'd figure out a way. Like, I'm not, in my town, I'm not allowed to collect rainwater to water my lawn.
Yeah, nobody enforces that.
Like, but I'm just saying, like, if it's on the law books.
Trav, I got news for you. You can collect rainwater. Go ahead.
I can.
Nobody
cares.
If
you have an asshole neighbor who wants to turn you in, they can. Is what I'm saying. Like,
I guess.
Who are they to tell me I can't collect rainwater?
How are you going to prove that water is rain? It's totally unenforceable. But it doesn't matter. You can collect rainwater if you want.
I agree with you, but
you should collect rainwater if you want to. The libertarian in me is allowing you to collect whatever rainwater you want.
There shouldn't be anybody tell me I can't.
As long as there's no mosquitoes in it. If you let it sit and mosquitoes get in it and it starts harming your neighbor, then you should go to jail.
Yes.
Especially if it's mosquitoes.
Definitely.
All right, let's get back to this movie, guys.
Suck. I think we covered everything in the movie.
So what are we watching next week?
When my kid, because my kids didn't really want to watch this movie. When they saw like the hats and stuff, they were like, "Oh gosh, this doesn't look like our kind of movie, Dad." And I said, "Stick with it. It gets real dark, and then it really won't be your kind of movie." But they have played a little bit of Red Dead Redemption with me on my little in a posse on the PS4, and so I was able to say, "Hey, haven't you ever gone up in Amberino to see the abandoned Tesla lab? Because that actually exists in the Red Dead map." And they hadn't, and so it fell flat on them. So any Red Dead fans out there probably recognized, hey, I've been in that lab, and it wasn't that burned down.
This whole time I thought you were a good dad, but your kids hadn't even seen the burnt down Tesla lab in Red Dead Redemption 2.
It's probably because I don't let them fight. They can just hunt and run a fur trading business.
Oh, that's right. Your kids aren't allowed to use violence in Red Dead Redemption.
Well, they're young, man. I don't need them getting in some kind of like...
No, I'm not criticizing you. I just forgot that. Yeah.
I don't...
that's interesting, too.
I don't want them to get in some kind of weird like shooting war with a 25-year-old stoner on there, and...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need them to get doxxed.
Yeah, but you're always playing it with them.
Yeah, they're never allowed to play unless I'm the posse leader, so...
Yeah, that's cool. Anyways, that's cool. You're a good dad.
I am a good dad. I'm a very tired dad, but I think that's a sign that I'm doing it right.
That's all. That's all of us, man.
I'm an absolute failure as a father, so I don't
I don't know. That one seems like it's turned
out
he's
tired
fine.
too.
Yeah, I'm tired and I'm a failure. Terrible example.
I think some of the failure dads might be the most tired, actually.
Yeah.
Technically. Physically. Anyway.
I drive slow home from work just so I can cry before I get home.
You're listening to the wrong podcast. Dan in Post is just so mean.
Dan in Post. He's my joy.
Dan in Post really got George in the Rock episode. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
I was excited that
George
Dan and
listened to
Post
that.
went after you and not me.
I hadn't listened yet.
Yeah, he calls you out on your bullshit.
That's okay, because Aaron didn't realize that the guys were using darts at the beginning either. So he asked me earlier. He was like, "Man, but they were shooting those guys," and I said, "No, it's darts and beanbags." And then he texted me later, "Oh, I just heard that part of the show."
I have to listen to this right now. Stop the podcast.
It's basically your argument over, not argument, like your idea of what the bathroom scene was.
Yeah, the shower, how you went with it, even though you had no idea which scene we were talking about. And then only later.
And then an hour later, you're like,
oh, that's not the scene I was talking about the entire time.
Yeah, that sucked for me, actually.
Any new thoughts on The Rock a week out?
No.
Watch it again.
Hey, at least you know that I'm like not trying to look smart.
And then chase it with Con Air.
Because a trying to look smart guy would have just like let it go.
Yeah.
And no one would have known any better, probably, or maybe they would. I don't know.
Yeah, we appreciate your candor.
Yeah. Sometimes I suck at a lot of things, guys, and that kind of makes it funny to listen to the podcast. So I'm just gonna continue sucking at certain things.
So I really do recommend that you guys watch this movie again and see.
How come every time we watch a movie where I actually know who the actors are, you don't ask me if I've seen them in anything before?
I guess I just presume since all of these people were in all the Batman movies that we don't really need to go over it. But I mean, do you want to do a quick rundown and see if you recognize anybody?
When I saw Hugh Jackman, I was like, "Oh my God,
it's the Showman."
That's Hugh Jackman.
He really is the showman in this. Like,
is this your first Jackman?
What? No.
Is this your first Jackman movie?
No.
What other Jackmans have you watched?
I've seen Wolverine. I've seen No, X-Men I've seen.
Okay.
And I've seen The Greatest Showman, and I have seen Les Mis, and
it's eclectic.
I probably have seen some other things too that I can't remember, but I know Hugh Jackman.
Guilty pleasure. One of the best 2 movies that I should have never watched with him in it is the one with Meg Ryan. Is it Kate and Leopold?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Very funny. Chick flick, but funny.
But you like it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And what's the one he did with Ashley Judd, where she looks somebody, I can't remember the name of it, but he's really good in that too. He does good chick flicks.
He's a good actor.
Yeah.
In this movie, in Prestige, he makes a face. I think it's probably when he reads the diary and realizes he's been had. He does like a face that is so pained to realize he's been had that like he looks super sad and like his nose starts to run. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh man, he like went very far into that feeling.
Hey, someone like you.
Have you guys seen the meme where it's like 5 actors that could play the next Wolverine, and it's Hugh Jackman
in all different faces,
all different like character faces?
I did see the one today that was all the actors up for the role of Batman and Batman Beyond, and it was 6 different pictures of Michael Keaton. Yeah.
Because they know if they don't cast him in Batman Beyond, we're rioting.
Oh man.
What you're talking about, Dan, is what I always look for.
I knew when I saw that. I thought, okay, Travis is on board with this movie.
When I even said it to Richard today when we were talking about the Star Wars debacle, you have people that are taught you have to act mad. Show me anger. Show me that you're angry. Show me that you're outraged. And then there's people that play.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna channel this, and
I'm going to be outraged.
What I'm gonna do, just roll the camera, and then you just go out there and you make your fucking nose run.
You make it happen. Yeah. You don't come off as you're trying to be angry. You come off as angry.
Right.
And that's the difference between somebody who's acting and someone who's being.
Yes.
And when I see someone acting,
if you're devastated,
angry, they get that little face like they're angry. I'm angry now, and they get the face, and it's like, no, you got to get yourself to the point where you're angry, and then we know you're angry. And that, like I always say, acting classes helped me be a better parent because I'm able to go from 0 to 11 without being angry with anybody. I just know where I need to go to get them where they need to be.
Wow.
So I can go from 0 to 10 and show that anger or that rage or that sadness or whatever it is I need to show. So they think they know that I mean business when I really don't.
So really,
I could totally
so
just hug
really
them.
you're just manipulating.
I'm manipulating them, yeah.
You're manipulating your children.
Gaslight.
That's fantastic.
Well, I remember I watched an old Inside the Actor Studio with Dustin Hoffman, and some student stood up and he's like, "Oh, third-year actor, blah, blah, blah," and he starts asking him about what method he uses or this and that.
So basically it was like Dan talking to John Carpenter.
Yeah. And Dustin Hoffman's like, I don't use a method. He's like, when the camera says action, and I think Ian McKellen did the same thing, and he just goes to where he needs to go. Yeah. He yelled at the kid. The kid probably shit himself, and then he just continued to talk. And Ian McKellen did the same thing. He went from talking to this kid in the crowd with his regular voice, and then he went into Gandalf, and he's like, "Thou shalt not pass." And then he just started talking again. I clip the shit out of it? I'm sorry.
I'm sure you did, yeah.
But he went there without
instantly.
Having to, yeah, and it's like
he didn't have to, sulk in the character for 3 months before he did it. Yeah,
and he didn't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I watch Jackman, I know if he's in a cartoon, if he's in a musical, if he's in a drama, whatever he's in, he's going to act the shit out of it. He's going to put everybody else to shame, and that's it.
Yes.
And I don't have to worry about him.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is full of those people. Every single person in this movie can act.
Yes. So let's keep going down the line. Christian Bale is obviously, the best Batman. Michael Caine is obviously the best Alfred.
He's the best at everything. And
then I'm going down Scarlett Johansson. I've seen in Marvel movies. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but she's good in like normal movies.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen enough of them because that's kind of our shtick. I just haven't seen any movies except for Marvel movies,
she's
which
been
I
around
don't
a long
even
time
like.
Too.
But I do like Scarlett Johansson. I like her better as a redhead, but it doesn't matter. And then two names that when the credits rolled, I was like, holy shit, that was that person? Which was David Bowie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because although I know what David Bowie looks like, when he's in like spandex and like basically almost like androgynous or something, like he's, like David Bowie that
and
like
he looked
performing
like Tesla.
music.
Like he looked really good.
So I was like, holy shit, that was David Bowie. And then another name who I don't know why I know this name was Andy Serkis.
And you do know that name very well.
I don't know why I know that name.
He is the premier motion capture actor in Hollywood. He's played every ape on screen.
Okay.
He played Gollum.
Yes.
He played King Kong.
Okay.
He's also Alfred in The Batman.
Yes.
He was in
okay.
Devil Wears Prada. Like he was in a shit ton of movies.
Okay.
He's in everything.
Yeah, so I saw the name. I'm like, Andy Serkis. I know that name. How do I know that name? But I didn't like IMDb before the episode because
he's another one. Is just
I
could watch him read the phone book.
Yeah, I watched him explain acting Gollum on like a YouTube video. It was very, very interesting. But
his best work is the Planet of the Apes movies, which I hope to do them. I don't know how Dan feels about it, but I want to do those movies.
Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Now you're talking about the new ones?
Yeah, the ones with Andy Serkis.
The Matt Reeves ones?
Yes.
I've not seen those.
They're very good.
I mean, obviously they got him that job, right? So, and they gave him the leeway and the money to make the Batman what it was. They had to have faith in him. So I have to imagine they're pretty good.
Yeah, even if it's like a summer thing. Like show George the old Planet of the Apes so he can like see where it comes from. And then maybe touch on the Tim Burton debacle where he got all the money and the
Is that the one with the horrifying masks? The Burton one?
They weren't horrifying masks because it was Rick Baker. They looked great. But
I'm thinking of like the late
bad.
like not the first Planet of the Apes, but like the third or fourth one by the time the budget has been cut to they're like Halloween masks.
Oh, you mean like Charlton Heston type?
Yeah,
stuff?
I've seen the original one and it looks fine. But one of those sequels, I've seen pictures. It looks like a Halloween costume, like almost Canadian from South Park, the way that the mouth opens.
Yeah, it was like 2 coconuts.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, I believe, Tim Burton got the rights to make a remake, and he did his thing. And visually, it's amazing, but it's just a bad movie. It's Mark Wahlberg trying to be Charlton Heston.
Oh my God.
but it's visually. Tim Roth is great. What do you need?
Oh, I was just thinking of Dirk Diggler. From my cold dead hand. I was just back in the moment.
But the apes are like Michael Clark Duncan. There's a lot of good actors. Tim Roth is in it. He's really good. But it's just not, the technology isn't there, and the script was not there. But the new movies they're good. The Matt Reeves ones are really good. So, yeah. Andy Serkis. Friend of the show. Definitely.
I wish,
yeah. His Gollum is ridiculous. He should have gotten an Oscar for that part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, his Gollum is way better than the other Gollum. Just
There's
kidding.
no other Gollum.
Exactly. You said his Gollum like
his
there's another
Gollum,
one.
meaning his... I never understood why the motion capture actors are not nominated. They're acting, they're
Well, I don't think that they ever used like CGI the way they did with Gollum before. You know, there was a person who was deaf, right, and reads lips, and she said that was the first CGI character she could ever read the lips of.
Okay.
Because it was him really talking.
Yeah, no,
right.
it was.
So it's the first time that kind of actor, I guess. You know,
it's definitely a talent, and it should be recognized by the Oscars.
I think at some point,
actor is on screen.
Years from now, they will introduce that Oscar, and then they will be like, "Man, it's a shame we didn't have this until 2040 or whenever." Just like the special effects
Lifetime
Oscars.
Achievement Award they'll give to them.
So yeah, it's just one of those.
But it's like Rick Baker. They created the category for special effects.
I mean, they should
him.
At that point they should call it the Andy Serkis Award.
It should be
at this point.
Speaking of science and the overlap with magic, Nolan's next movie coming out next summer is Oppenheimer.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Starring Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer.
I like it.
Robert Downey Jr.'s in it too.
How supernatural is it going to get, though, is the question.
Oh, I imagine not very. I imagine it'll be just like this, where it's like, hey, it's just science. You just don't know how it works.
Okay.
But who knows? It might be spy stuff. I don't even know what they're going to go with on this. I'm excited. And I don't know anything about it. And I'm not going to watch the clip because I don't want to know anything about it. What are we watching next week?
What are we watching next week?
Is it a movie?
I think we're going to watch a movie. You know, every time I look up at that wall, I see the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. Take a picture of it and put it on our Facebook
so
group so that people have to go to our Facebook group and see it. You've mentioned it before. It does look
every
like
time I look up, I'm like,
Falcon.
oh, wait, no, it's not the Millennium Falcon.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so next week is a movie starring some people that you might recognize.
Oh.
It's called... Wait, do we do it? Yeah, we'll do it. The Devil's Advocate.
Okay.
The Devil's Advocate.
Do you know anything about this movie, George?
It's probably about an attorney, a defense attorney. Why are you looking at me like that?
Go on.
Whose client is the actual devil. At least if I was making a movie that was called The Devil's Advocate, that would be the plot.
Why would it be a defense attorney?
Because it's an advocate. Prosecutors aren't advocates for anybody.
Okay.
They're advocates for the state. And if the state is the devil, then I guess, yeah. But no, that's not how I see prosecutors.
So it's a defense attorney.
And his client is the actual devil, but
trial.
Yeah, but the defense attorney may or may not know it. And the defense attorney maybe they do know it, and their oath to defend their client keeps them from. I don't know. I'm just.
All right,
I'm
so
literally
pitch
talking
me this
out my
movie.
ass.
Pitch me this movie, George. Who do you want to play your attorney, and who do you want to play your devil?
Oof.
Elevator pitch.
God, you guys are putting me on the spot.
It's the lobby. We're going up to the 35th floor.
Who can play the devil?
And who could have played the devil? Let's say 1997. Who would have been your devil in 97? Who would have been your attorney?
This is fun.
Sharon Stone would have been my devil.
She's no Sharon Stone.
and my attorney would be Joe Pesci. No, I'm just kidding. That's stupid.
I mean, that would have been amazing. I was on board.
I would watch that movie twice on Sunday. Are you kidding me? What the hell? What are you, the fucking devil? Oh, I would watch that.
Oh,
You
shoot.
gotta be shitting me. I defend you twice this week. You son of a bitch. You stuttering prick, you.
I don't know.
Oh my god,
Guys, I'm really just talking
I
out
know,
my ass.
and it was
spitballing.
If
way
I'm
more
close-
interesting than just a guy in a coat with a machine gun. So I wanted to hear more.
Yeah.
Dude, if I'm close, okay, that's fine. I'm
I
not
don't know.
close. Am I?
I
Am
don't
I?
know.
Am I not? I don't know. I'm talking out my ass. Just so you know, no matter what happens next week, right now I am talking out of my ass.
Okay.
I have no idea what this movie's about.
Well, I'm excited. And guys, go ahead and watch The Prestige again too. Maybe we'll do a post credits next week and just see how you liked it the second time.
Okay.
And now I've put it in the show, so you have to do it. Sorry.
Yes. No, I'm probably gonna watch it with my wife because we were supposed to watch it together, but kids.
Yeah, make the kids watch it too. I mean, it gets a little dark at the end, but like, it's a good
my
flick.
Kids aren't gonna follow that. They'll be on their iPhones.
I mean,
30 minutes.
with all the acting that was going on and all of the this is all-star actors and stuff.
This is the pinnacle.
Even I felt like this is like long.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel that way about the Batman. It was just as long.
This
I
is
was like,
shorter than the Batman, I think.
I know, but this felt long.
Well, the problem is, whenever you get a period movie, it all of a sudden makes you think it's going to be long and boring.
I didn't think it was going to be. While I was watching it, I'm like, my God, how much more time? I mean, how much longer is this?
Second watch. Let's see how you feel.
I felt that way because I was trying to get through it because I had to come here.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and then I'm like, but I'm not taking notes. I'm just watching it. So I'm going to sit down now that I have the whole story in my head. We have our discussion in my head. I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, I'll watch it again as well. Yeah, I don't feel like it was. Now that I've finished it, I don't feel like it was too long. I don't feel like there's a bunch of stuff that could have been taken out.
It's definitely not boring. And thankfully, thank God, the actors are good.
Yeah,
a movie like this with bad actors
would have been
drive off a cliff.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to finish it.
I wouldn't have made you watch it because I only pick movies with good acting. That's my thing.
My God.
My God. My God.
All right. Well, thanks to the listeners.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod, and you can email us remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with The Devil's Advocate. And George might have actually guessed something right. Let's see if he remembers his guess by the time he watches the movie. See you then.